It turns out if all you do is work with very little to show for it, you burn out pretty quickly. My goal is to be productive, not just busy. And with these three changes, I've done exactly that. In about a week, I've gone from being busy to actually being productive. So that's what I'll be sharing with you in this video, because doing these three things, I've effectively 10x the results in more than one area in my business. And I'm sure you would love to do the same, whether that's in your career, your business, or your school. But it actually started 2 weeks ago for me. When I was in Vegas, I was listening to some of these amazing leaders who have made millions and millions of dollars helping tons and tons of people. Some of them like Ed Milet or Sean White. Sean White was there, but all of them were great. But of course, a few of them stood out, and that's where these changes are coming from. I didn't make up all of them on my own. That's where these are coming from. And the first thing that I did was I went from being goal oriented to being activity oriented. The second one, and what I'm still learning to do, is shifting the frame of success, or kind of redefining what it looks like to succeed. And then the third one is I just simplified everything that I possibly could. And we're going to dive into each of those, but I do want to make something very clear. This is not some new tips and tricks video. It's not some new groundbreaking hack that's going to fix your life tomorrow. These are things that just work, and they don't need constant updates in order to stay relevant. So if you do them for yourself, I promise you they will work. But let's start with that first one. Number one, going from being goal-oriented to being activity-oriented. And the man who brought this to my attention goes by the name of Swan Win, and why this hit me so hard and why I made it the number one priority is because when Swan Win came up onto stage and looked at us and told us we will never reach the life of our dreams, we will never reach the results that we're truly looking for, it's because we are too afraid to do work that has no end. That is why we're too goal oriented. Our only motivation is the finish line. It's a new title, it's a new promotion, and if that's your only motivation, there are two things that happen. The first thing that happens, this is the most common, is that number one, we find out that life is not perfect, and on the way to the finish line, especially if we don't learn how to walk, to learn how to jog, to learn how to run, to learn how to sprint, if all we're trying to do is sprint, we will trip. But it's the people who are too goal oriented, who are too afraid to do the work that has no end. The only thing they ask themselves is every time they trip, they only ask, should I just run faster? When in reality, what they should be asking themselves is, should I slow down to learn the proper steps, to learn how to jog and run and proper things to sprint? They never ask themselves that because they are only motivated by the finish line. They only care about ending the work instead of actually doing the work. But the second thing, honestly, I think this one is even worse, because this is somebody, maybe let's say you do trip your way to that finish line. First of all, good for you, because sometimes it just takes pure grit. But the reason this one is worse, because if you do hit that finish line, you trip your way all the way there, or maybe you just got lucky and you sprinted all the way to the finish line, you do hit that title, you do hit that promotion, but because your only motivation were those things, you now get comfortable and you get lazy and you sit back and you no longer do anything because your only motivation was the finish line. It's these people who are constantly looking for new and better things simply for the fact that they got bored. They hit one thing and now they're trying to do another thing. They tried Forex and it worked for a little bit. They did whatever they wanted to do. Now they're trying crypto. They're doing whatever it is to make a quick buck. And I'm not one of those people bouncing from different things, but I am one of the people who I was only motivated by the goal. My sole intention was to hit a new title, to hit a new promotion, to hit a specific dollar amount. So what I did, because obviously it was not working, is I removed complete focus from all promotions, from all goals like dollar amounts and the new title, the new promotion. While those things are good, you should have goals to move towards. It's not okay for it to be the entire motivation. 100% of my focus is now on activity. As I gathered my team together and spoke to them individually, instead of asking them and emphasizing, hey, how many deals are we going to close this month? Or hey, how much money do you want to make this month? All I ask them is, how many people are you going to talk to this month? It's a slight difference. Of course, the result will still, we're here to make money, but the result is the same, but it's only a byproduct of our activity. It's a slight shift in mentality, but the problem I was having before is that because we were placing only emphasis on the goal and the dollar amount, when people didn't hit those goals that they said they were going to hit, they were completely discouraged and frustrated why they weren't doing well, and eventually a lot of them actually were just quitting because they were so frustrated. When Swan stood in front of us and told us that we cannot be afraid to do work that has no end, this is exactly what he was talking about. And it reminded me of this passage. Whether you're a Christian or not, I believe this would help. But it's from Ecclesiastes 2:24, and what it says is, "So I decided there's nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God." Loving the activity is a blessing from God. That's where our focus needs to be, on the activity. Now, the second change I made was learning how to shift the frame of success. So redefining what it looks like to succeed for myself, for my clients, and for the rest of my team. And what that actually means is I have found that being in social media for a while now and gaining more and more experience in business, I have found that we are very good at selling the dream. But once we have done that, once we've sold somebody the dream, if we do it at all, we are very bad at handling the expectations. And if we do it at all, what that actually looks like, once we have sold the dream, we tell them by handling expectations, we tell them the negatives don't exist. Or just block it out of your mind. Your excuses are no longer real. They don't exist. That would be perfect, right? But perfect is not real. That's not a real service. Perfect does not exist. But what does exist is good. And no matter how good something is, it will still take time. Whether that's some kind of investment strategy for their retirement, it's going to take time. If it's me teaching my new business partners how to scale their business, we bring 3 to 5 each month, showing them how to do that. It's going to take time. And what that looked like for me is that, of course, when we bring somebody on, the 3 to 5 new people we bring on each month, of course, we understand their why, so their dreams, why they do things beyond just money. So what they really, in the long term, what they really want to do, because it's important. But what we usually do is we just move on. Okay, this is your dream. Let's get you to the dream. That's what I want to help you do. But what I've started doing now, and I've actually been doing this for a little while now, just placing more emphasis, is once we've understood the dream, is I asked them a weird question. I asked them, like, okay, these are your dreams, and I'm going to do something weird with you. You've never given me a reason to doubt you yet, at least not yet. But if you were to come up with an excuse to quit, what would you be able to come up with? If you had to come up with an excuse, what would you say? And almost all of them, I did this with new business partners and with with existing business partners who have been here for a while. I did this with everybody. And all of them pretty much just said the same thing. Well, maybe the money is not looking good enough, or maybe I'm losing time. I have different priorities. I just don't have enough time to do this because of my job. Most people here are part-time workers, so they have different jobs. Almost all of them said the same thing. And what I mean by handling the expectations instead of pretending like they don't exist is turning them from negative excuses into positive reasons. This is a very basic law of science. You don't destroy energy. It just converts from one thing into another. And that's what the goal was, to handle the expectations. Because if these are your dreams, so go back to their whys, then handle the excuses. If these are your dreams, but if this is the reason you might quit, if it took 10 years of dedication for you to reach everything that you've ever dreamt of, would you be willing to do that? And all of them were like, well, yeah, if I knew it was going to happen, then yes, I would do that. But then I looked at, well, how can we start with 5 years? If you are willing to commit 5 years to put yourself on the path to these dreams, would you be willing to do that? And well, then it becomes an even more obvious yes. Okay, so then if your excuse is that you might possibly not make enough money, that is every reason you need to commit now. So what that did is, it's the same person. I thought originally when people were quitting or my clients were leaving, is like, okay, I need to find better people. I need to find better clients. All I had to do was shift the frame of success. They were thinking they were going to be millionaires by next week, and that would be perfect, but it's not real. So I shifted the frame from next week I'll be a millionaire to, okay, if I commit to 5 to 10 years, then these dreams are possible. And that's a very different mindset to have when you're working with a client or a new business partner. They are dedicated and they're committed to the work, which goes back to that first change that I made. And as I was preparing for these changes and preparing for this video, I probably should have looked it up before I hit record, but it reminded me of this quote. I believe it was by Mike Tyson. If not him, then it was another famous boxer. And what he said is that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's essentially what I'm preparing my new clients and my new business partners for. We will get punched in the face sometimes. Crap will hit the fan sometimes. But that's okay, because we're not here for the next month. We're not even here for the next year. We're here for the next 5 to 10 years, and you will have these dreams. If they're not prepared for those things, they're gonna quit. But the third thing that I changed, and this video is actually the perfect example of it, is simplifying everything that I possibly could. What I used to do for YouTube videos is I would script out videos word for word. It would take me 3-4 weeks to do it. That's why I was never consistent. But the difference is that now I can be consistent. I removed an unnecessary complexity in my business to be able to remain consistent, because simple is what scales. That is my goal, to scale. So simple. Now, there are certain things in life and in business that you can't just get rid of. That's just life. There will always be those complexities that are necessary. And for these things, what I'm doing is I'm taking the approach of, if I can't explain it to a 5-year-old and help them understand it, then I don't understand it well enough to explain to anybody else. So an easy way to do this is called first principles thinking. And I'm not going to go into a whole rant about this, because I actually have been using this for a while. I almost started an entire business just off of this method of thinking, helping people understand it. I did this instead, which I'm happy with. But a very simple way to put it is, first principles thinking is reverse engineering complex topics. It's taking the complex issue as a whole, breaking it down into very specific core components, and then reverse engineering those core components. And when you do it like this, it's just much more digestible, and it's actually manageable now. But the key for this is, yes, while you are simplifying and breaking it down into the components, is that you make the components extremely specific. And I feel like this is something I've always been good at, but what's important as a leader is to be able to transfer those skills, and that's something I kind of neglected and kind of wasn't doing. And that's just what I focused on, being able to help my team and my clients understand complex issues by breaking it down into these simple components, helping them do it for themselves. Of course, it's only been a week, but these things have drastically changed my business. What I'll be working on from now on and for next week and the week after that is remaining consistent with them. That's all I have for you today, but before you leave, if you can hit the like and the sub so you can come back to this video and try these things out for your week. Let me know how it goes in the comment sections, how your week went, or if anything changed, if I'm just spewing nonsense, let me know too. But if you can do that before you leave so that we can both grow together, that would be awesome. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.